right when you hit record.
So how's your coffee today?
It's good. It's delicious. You made it.
I did make it today. All right. So you've heard the Trump administration, President Trump, is trying to end DEI programs.
Yeah.
How does that impact the church?
Oh, man. That's an interesting way to frame that question. But DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right?
Correct.
Well, where to even begin?
I don't know where to begin with that. Go ahead. Try somewhere.
I'll just unapologetically come out and say I may have not had the courage to say this a year or so ago or 2 years ago, but very grateful for the steps that are being taken by this administration that hopefully are promoting what is right, promoting righteousness, promoting what is good, and God can use imperfect people to promote and to push forward things that are good. So I'll just start off by saying that when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, I know that so much of this conversation divides. It's a very divisive conversation. Now, some of that is because as unifying as diversity, equity, and inclusion sounds, many of the actual policies that have quote unquote supported those things, those policies themselves are divisive. There's a lot of division within that, and so we could dig more into that. Some of this I'll also be honest. I don't have the full capability right now to articulate all of those things, and so I'll try to be humble enough to admit that I don't have the articulation at the moment to to dive in deeply to those things. A couple of things. Many of the things that we have seen come from quote unquote DEI have been actually very divisive. They've actually divided our country in very deep ways, and very grateful to see certain policies come in place to where we are prioritizing competence rather than prioritizing putting people in certain positions for the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We should all hope that competence is a whether you're red, yellow, black, or white. Competence is somewhat of the standard for how we run things in our country. And so those are two things that come to mind.
All right, let me push this button a little deeper.
Yeah.
Part of what this is doing is removing some athletes from teams.
Are you talking about like the men and women's sports type thing?
Men and women's sports.
Yeah. Vehemently opposed to men and women's sports.
You're opposed to sports?
No. No. Vehemently opposed to men who think they are women competing against women in sports that are for women, and even more so that those men would enter into locker rooms and those kinds. As a dad of both 3 sons and 3 daughters, I'm opposed to that kind of thing. And so I know that this isn't necessarily an opinion piece that you're looking for, but maybe a more articulate understanding of each of these things. But I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I'm very grateful for the policies and the executive orders that have been signed to squash these things. So,
all right, read up a little more on it.
I will,
and we're going to revisit this topic again and dive a little deeper into it.
Let's do it.
I'd love to hear your comments on DEI. Go ahead and write those below, and maybe we'll get Pastor to address those in a future episode.